Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us as we once again start this 3-hour adventure into the outdoors, talking about the history and tradition of our outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan, hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and conservation issues, wildlife issues, some wild game cooking. And there's so much to talk about in our great state. This week, doing a little time shifting, and the only reason I bring it up is if there is something big in the outdoor world, the outdoor news that breaks, and you're saying, Avery, why aren't you talking about that? For example, if lightning would come down from heaven and all of a sudden, boom, oh, we're going to have a wolf hunt this fall in Michigan, why am I not talking about it? Because we're doing some time shifting and it hasn't happened yet. So just keep that in mind, please, if you would. But as you are listening to this show, can you believe that next weekend is Labor Day weekend? The summer just flew by. It just absolutely flew by. But you know what? We're going into what I consider to be the best time of year anyway. I mean, I love the summertime. I love being out there on the bay on the Angler Quest, chasing walleye. And it was a good summer. But there's something about the fall. The cooler temperatures, the change in the seasons, the change in Mother Nature. It's just a wonderful, beautiful, comfortable, magnificent time of year. I find myself, like many of you probably are as well, making the transition. Although we've been doing this for a couple weeks now, haven't we? Even though the calendar still says summertime, we're thinking fall. We're feeling fall. I'm starting to make the transition into fall. One thing I'm doing is getting ready for my bear hunt coming up. I did decide to go ahead and hunt this year with my Brenton. It was back and forth. You know, am I going to use my crossbow? Am I going to use my Brenton 350 Legend? I've taken quite a few bears at this point, and every one of them has been with a bow of one form or another. Recurve, I've taken a bear with my recurve, which was an absolutely beautiful experience. Honestly, that was probably one of my most rewarding bear hunts, to take that bear with a recurve after practicing hard all summer long, waiting for the perfect shot, making a perfect shot, watching the animal go down. It was beautiful. I've taken several with a compound bow. I've taken a bunch of them with a crossbow. I like hunting with a bow. In fact, these days I like hunting with a crossbow. Well, you might say, well, that's taking the easy way out. Maybe. But I think we owe it to the game we are pursuing to do everything we can to make a quick, clean, humane killing shot. And the reason I quit hunting with my recurve was not because I didn't love it. It was because I wasn't shooting it enough to be comfortable and confident that I could make that quick, clean, humane killing shot. In fact, the last year, towards the end of the deer season, when I was out there with a recurve, I found myself asking, boy, if a big doe does go out there 15 yards and turn broadside, could I make that shot? The answer was probably. Well, if it's probably and not pretty much definitely, it's time to move on. If you're going to hunt with a recurve, you need to be very dedicated. If you're going to hunt with a compound, you need to be dedicated. And I'll say this, if you're hunting with a crossbow, you also need to be dedicated. You need to shoot enough to know that that arrow is going to go where you want it to go. So this fall, when bow season rolls around, I will have a crossbow in my hands once again. And again, the reason is I want to be comfortable. I want to be confident. I want to make the best shot possible. Now, that crossbow at a target will shoot out to what, 70 yards, 80 yards? At a target that's not moving and just sitting there, and my heart isn't thumping in my chest because there's a deer in front of me. Would I make a shot that far on an animal? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think my effective range with a crossbow is no more than it was with my compound. I don't think I would shoot a deer more than 40 yards with a crossbow. Even the equipment can do it. I just don't, in my mind, it's not the choice I want to make. It's not the right shot for me. So, if I love hunting with a bow so much, why am I going to bear hunt this fall with a gun? Well, the reason is I've never taken a bear with a gun before. In fact, I've never taken a Michigan bear before. This will be my third time hunting in Michigan for bear. First year I hunted, I passed up a bear. Second time I hunted, I was hunting with a recurve, and even though I had a bear in front of me, I didn't get a shot. So I've never taken a Michigan bear before. It seems to me like a cool concept. If I'm going to shoot my first Michigan bear, if I'm going to shoot that bear, I'd like it to be with a Michigan gun. Brenton is made in Lansing. When I got that gun, it came with a very nice loopholed 1.5 by 5 by 20 scope. Beautiful scope, but it just didn't provide me the magnification that I wanted. So after hunting with that for a couple of years, I said, you know what, I'm going to put a new scope on there. So I got a Vortex Crossfire. I wanted a 3x9 by 40. That wasn't available, so I got a 3x9 by 50. And all that means is it's a 3x9 power, so I can zoom in closer, farther to the game. And actually getting a 50 millimeter objective lens, the lens closest to the object, there's no downside to it because it lets more light in. And since it was the same price, I just got the 3x9 by 50. So I'm in the process now. I put the scope on the gun just to see if it was going to work. It is, yes. I'm going to get it professionally mounted, so I know it's done right. I also have a suppressor for that gun. So that's going to be pretty cool, too. So I've got a new scope on that Brenton. I've got the suppressor for the Brenton. And by the way, the process of getting suppressors these days is way easier, way faster than it used to be. I won't say easier, but way faster than it used to be. So anyway, I'm real excited about that. I'll be hunting with Johnny Bowler, who will be joining us here on the show in just a few minutes. Johnny has been sending me pictures. And some of those pictures have wolves on the bait. In fact, he sent me one series of pictures. Very cool. I've never seen this before. A wolf and a bear on the bait at the same time. Now, some people said that's not a wolf. They said that's a coyote. I think it was a wolf. When I have hunted up there before, I have heard wolves, but I'm trying to think, have I ever seen a wolf in the UP? I don't think I've ever actually seen a wolf in the UP. I've seen signs of them. I've heard them, but I don't think I've seen a UP wolf. I've seen a bunch of them in Canada, Ontario. In fact, hunted wolves up there. So we'll see. We'll see if wolves on the bait is going to affect my. I do have the third season, so I don't have that going for me. But I'm hunting with Johnny Bowler. Some things coming up. The 18th, Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Would love to have you join us. You'll need. There's no cost for this. I would think that you'll probably buy dinner. I'm not buying dinner for you, but if you want to show up and just drink water, that's fine. 989-343-0892. 989-343-0892 for reservations. Call. If they don't answer, let it ring. A machine will pick it up. Give them your name, how many in your party, and a phone number so we can confirm. We're going to call back. Well, the folks at the Lumberjack, are going to call back a day or two ahead of time to make sure that you are indeed going to be able to make it, because we always sell these things out, and we don't want to leave an empty table. That is Wednesday, September 18th, 989-343-0892. Before then, actually this Wednesday coming up, Wednesday the 28th, Amy Trotter of MUCC is going to join me on Wednesday Night Live. This is your chance to talk with her directly. She's a really nice lady, very knowledgeable, I think doing a great job. So make sure you check that out. And just make sure you check out Wednesday Night Lives in general. They are Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. It's a live stream I do on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter now called X, LinkedIn. Sometimes I go to Instagram as well. And I also do a Behind the Mic segment every Wednesday night every Wednesday morning at 8:45 here from the Outdoor Magazine studio. Coming up on this week's show, after the break, the Bear Whisperer, Johnny Bowler himself. I want to talk about bear hunting, how he baits, his concern about wolves. Will wolves keep a bear off a bait? Then Tom Jenkins talking about the big unveiling of the Fred Bear statue coming up here in Grayling in just a couple of weeks. In hour number 2, Glenn Alfieri talking about the upcoming early Michigan goose season. Then Amy Trotter will join us. Corporal Ken Lowell answers this week's Ask Avery question about why is it so hard to find a hunter safety class these days? It seems like we don't have enough of them out there. And in our third hour, Mark Romanack of Fishing 411 talks about making the transition from summertime fishing into the fall. And then we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I'd love to hear from you. Don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know what's on your mind, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Tawas on WIOS 1480 AM 106.9 FM. And you can hear us in Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Matt Smith Outdoor Realtor. Matt, a friend of mine, he's an expert at finding recreational properties and vacation homes, and he can help your family turn a dream into a reality. Learn more online at Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. And by the way, if you're looking for a new home as your primary residence, Matt can help you out there as well. That's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. And just so you don't think I renamed the city, it's Tawas. Tawas. East Tawas, West Tawas, Tawas. A beautiful part of our state. In fact, you can hear the show twice each weekend on WIOS, so I appreciate that very much. All right, you know I'm kind of geeked about getting up into the UP on a bear hunt this year. I did draw a tag. It's for the third season. I'll be hunting with a Bear Whisperer, Johnny Bowler. Now, Johnny's not a real public guy. He doesn't like to bring the limelight on himself, but I have cajoled him into joining me on the Outdoor Magazine show this week, and he's agreed. Johnny, I appreciate it, buddy. How are you?
Good.
What do you think of the title, The Bear Whisperer?
It is what it is. I only had to show you once that I could bring a bear back to you after it took off.
Well, Johnny, you've been doing this a long time. How many years have you been guiding bear hunters in the UP now?
32. This is my 33rd year. I used to help my father-in-law do it until our accident, and then I took it over from there. So what have you learned over those years about bringing bears in? That's a lot of time to gain a lot of experience. It's actually, Mike, it's like riding a bike. You do the same thing every year, but you get a little bit smarter on bigger bears and how to fool them. And sometimes it works and sometimes it don't.
If you've got a hunter who says, look, I want a big bear, I'm willing to pass smaller bears, I want a big bear, do you approach that differently? Do you set up that bait differently? Do you do anything different at all?
I have a long talk with the hunter first.
and tell him what?
He's got to realize that bear didn't get that big by being dumb. So everything he knows about hunting, he's got to throw out the door and listen to me and go to the spot and hunt it the way it should be hunted. And sometimes that takes several days of not hunting the bait just because the wind could be wrong or whichever, you know.
You bring up an interesting point, and I've run into this before. I think whenever you hire somebody, a guide, an outfitter, a charter captain, whatever it is, you're hiring them because they're good at what they do. So it's always been my theory, you go in there and you say, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to do it? Don't guide the guide, right?
Right. I mean, I get it. Everybody puts in for vacation. I work too. I have a job. But that's why I offer the whole season, not just a week hunt. Because, I mean, you could come third season, it might rain all that week, and then, what, you're just out of hunting? That's why I offer them to come back. We save the bait so that you can take the bear that I've worked all month to keep there.
At this point, are you baiting on sites that have been baited for years, or are you still going out and opening up new baits?
I have probably 3 to 4 new baits this year, baits that I've put in over the years, and then I also have baits that we baited for, well, my father-in-law did it before me, so probably 40 years ago.
I got to believe a bait that has been run that long. I mean, these bears have grown up on this. The sow, their mom taught them, you can go into this bait and eat. I mean, this is ingrained in them.
Oh, yeah, over the years. So I sent you a picture the other day. It took 6 minutes to get the bear to come to the bait.
Was that a brand new bait, or was that one that had been opened before?
That was somebody else's that's letting my daughter hunt there. And it was just... he's like, it's really scary to go down in here. And I'm like, okay. So I told my daughter. And next thing I know, I show her the picture. And she's like, are you kidding me?
So, yeah, I want to make sure.
Literally.
6 minutes after you went in there and put bait, you get back to the truck, your phone dings that your cell camera said there's a bear on the bait.
Yeah, 6 minutes.
Don't you wish they were all that easy?
Oh, yeah. We would be done like the first 2 minutes of the day.
So, Johnny, what do you use for bait? Is that one of the secrets to use the right bait?
Mike, I've used everything. I like sweets because the smell. I've used meat, and meat used to be really good, but now I've sent you pictures with wolves in it, and I guess it don't matter if you use Pop-Tarts or meat, but I know when we used to use meat, you'd see 10 times the wolves. So we started using sweets, and this year I have 3,400 pounds of Pop-Tarts that we're using.
Well, listen, if you got any frosted blueberry, hang on to them. I'll eat them too.
I think they're all frosted.
So, listen, you bring up wolves. I was going to talk about this later, but now that you bring it up, yeah, you sent me some pictures, which, by the way, Johnny, those trail camera pictures were so cool to see a wolf and a bear on the same bait at the same time. What's the interaction there? Will wolves drive bears off a bait? I mean, in this case, one wolf did not, but what do you see overall?
The thing in that picture that you have and you put on is only had one wolf. And I was really surprised, and I was trying to switch my camera to video just to see what goes on, but you can see the different pictures because every minute I have it set for every minute. Thing is if the 3 wolves would have been there, I don't think the bear would have stuck around. And he didn't stick around. He actually left. The wolf still wouldn't really go in there and eat, but then he took off. The bear come back, and then I guess they were both done for the night because I only got one more picture at 4:30 this morning of the wolf.
Do you know, I mean, you've been watching that bait. Are there multiple wolves on that bait right now?
Yeah, there's 3 of them on there. And it drives me crazy. So I'm got to put another bait in so that bear will come there, and hopefully if I keep feeding the wolves at that bait, they will stay there and not bother them over there. That's the game plan.
So now that the wolves are hitting that bait, you're going to give them that bait and try to start another bear bait somewhere else.
Yes, I don't have no choice. You know, like you hear it all the time, and from a youper, it's probably a sad thing to say that we hate them, but they're so destructive that there's no other word for them. It's not.
Yeah. Have you ever had a hunter shoot a bear and then go to find it and the wolves got it first?
I have never had that happen. I don't know they're not, in my opinion, the wolf's not afraid of us, but I've never had that happen. I guess once the guy shoots, I try to get right in and get on it, but I know other guides up here, I've seen the pictures that, they went out. I don't know if they went out the next morning and found it and it was ate up or if it was that afternoon. I just try to go with what I see and what I do instead of hearsay because of the hate for them.
So is it your practice, Johnny, if you get somebody shoots a bear, you're going to go after him that night, if at all possible?
Oh, we go right away. So I got a crew of 3 guys, and once a hunter shoots, we go right out there to get on it. We don't leave it go. Unless it's, wounded to where we're pushing it or we feel we're pushing it, then we have no choice but to let it lay,
Yeah.
That's just how it rolls. But no, we like to go out. Hunters, I normally let them come in, but now them nice things called cell phones, we can communicate a lot better and get right out on when the person shoots.
Do you have cell coverage across your whole hunting area?
Oh, yeah. There's a tower right here in Seney, and then they just put a new tower over like halfway to McMillan, so we got pretty good service. Cameras are all working great, so
you and I could be texting back and forth when I'm sitting in the blind.
I've sat in them blind. You can see out, but they can't see it.
Oh, we're talking about the Primal, the Wraith 270. And this year when I come up, Johnny, I hope to have one of those new Harvester blinds. I thought they'd be out by now, but I think they're kind of slow getting out. But I want to bring one of those Harvesters out. But speaking of that, do you put your hunters in ground blinds these days, or tree stands, or what?
I put them in ground blinds. And then if they want to hunt out of a tree stand, they have to bring their own. I want them to be comfortable. That's a stand that they've sat in, they've hunted out of, and my stand might not work for everybody else.
Sure. Are most of your hunters, are they bow hunters or gun hunters?
I would probably say the majority are gun hunters nowadays. I do get bow hunters. I guess it's all in what you want to hunt with. I mean, you want to hunt with a recurve. I know that you've shot bears. You can go hunt. But sometimes when I don't know the person, or sometimes even when I do know the person, I try to persuade them to use something different.
Oh, yeah, I felt like behind my back you were cursing me the whole time. It's like, doggone it, Avery, can't you just pick up something else other than that stupid recurve?
No, you were doing great. It's hunting. Not everybody shoots a bear, but in my heart, I want everybody to shoot a bear.
Well, sure. Well, this year I'm using that Brenton. I'm using the 350 Legend, so we can talk more about that. Johnny, we got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. You don't really have a website or a Facebook page for the guide service at all, right? Pretty much word of mouth at this point. You got all the hunters you can handle?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
It's all word of mouth, and that way I know the hunters I'm getting.
Gotcha. All right, Johnny, hang tight. We've got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. We're talking with Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. I will be hunting with Johnny in the Newberry Bear Management Unit near Seney in the 3rd season. Now, the 3rd season doesn't have as high of success rate as the first 2. So after the break, I want to talk to Johnny about that and how he deals with that 3rd season coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM, and north of the bridge in the Sioux, WKNW 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. Michigan-based family-owned Killer Food Plots. Rich Krazan was on the show with us last week, and he said, look, don't be dragging your feet. Time to wrap up getting those fall plots in right now. Of course, he always says the first thing you do is start with a soil sample, then go to their website, killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. Rich will be with us at the Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant on the 18th. If you want to join us, love to see you there, 989-343-0892. And if you want to learn more about Killer Food Plots, and I would encourage you to do that, go to their website, killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. Right now I'm talking with my buddy Johnny Bowler. I will be hunting with Johnny the third season, which starts September 25th. Johnny, that third season is a little tougher, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely tougher. But we'll have baits going, and we just got to be patient, That's all. They'll come in. Just need a few days, maybe a few more days of your time, Mike. That's all.
Well, I got time, and I got patience. You know that. But by the third, so what is the challenge with the third season? They've been hunted for a while. You got dog hunters out there. What's the concern?
My only concern with third season is up here. I don't worry about the dog hunters. What I'm concerned with is deer hunting, bird hunting. We got to share the land, and that's what it amounts to. You get other hunters in the woods, and then the bears aren't used to that, so they're pushing them around. So that's why I rely more on private property for third season.
And I would think third season too, you're more inclined that the bears are going to go nocturnal on you.
They do, but the good thing is we run probably about anywhere from 28 to 35 baits. So with that being said, we normally get bears that were someplace else that coming in. So they're still coming in at daylight, but like I was telling you, that's why I like to put the baits only, I can put them 30 to 50 yards because they're coming in later, and you still got a better chance of seeing them than being way back.
Yeah, and I would, being a bow hunter primarily, I like being up close and personal. I like to be able to see the bears. I like to be able to judge the size of the bears. Now, up in Ontario, where you're going to see multiple bears, you want to be able to take a good look at them. I know from my somewhat limited hunting experience in Michigan that it's not the same. You're not going to see as many bears and maybe not be as picky. And Johnny, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to be picky. I'm not going to shoot a cub, but I'm not looking for necessarily a big old trophy boar either. I have not shot a Michigan bear, so if you put a respectable bear in front of me, I'm going to shoot him.
Well, that's the plan. I have to get you a bear. It's a third time's the charm.
Well, listen, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, and it's going to happen this year. I just feel very confident about that. 30 to 50 yards. That is kind of close. But I see what you're saying, because you're likely going to see that bear, especially in the third season, right at dusk, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's just how my father-in-law always did it, and he always had success. So I just went off what he's done, and maybe I have to get the hunters back farther. I don't know, but I just try to talk to them and tell them, be as quiet as you can. You're just out there for a few hours. And like I say, I don't guarantee you're going to shoot one, but I guarantee you're going to be setting on an active bait. You know what I mean? You can't, anybody that guarantees you're going to shoot something he's playing with Mother Nature and things that I don't like to mess with.
No, exactly. I hear what you're saying. And when you say, well, maybe I should change things. Johnny, you've been doing this for 30 years. I wouldn't change a thing.
You know me. I start getting a little excited when they go for a walk, but there's a ton of berries in it. It's just, you do it for a whole month. You're out there baiting, and then all of a sudden the bear takes off, and then I want to start putting peanut butter. Let's put maple syrup. I go and spend 3/4 of the money trying to help get a bear back in there.
All your profits are gone.
But it is what it is. If I did it for money, Mike, I probably wouldn't have very many people hunting with me.
Oh, I get it. You say there's a big berry crop this year? That is a concern, though, always, isn't it?
Yeah. Blueberries were like crazy this year. Choke cherries are almost ripe. So I'm hoping we have had a lot of heat, 80-degree weather, pouring down rain today. But what I like is when the choke cherries get really ripe, and then we get a real strong wind and rain, and it knocks them all off, and then bear season's great.
Well, Johnny, you're going to give it your best effort. I know that. I'm going to do the best I can, and regardless of how it turns out, we're going to have a good time, and I appreciate the opportunity to get up there and hunt with you.
I'm glad you chose me, Mike. I've made a friend, I think, for life, and I have a lot of fun with you.
No doubt about that, Johnny. You're one of the good guys. Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. I gave him that title, right? I think he has reluctantly accepted it. It's not something he would have gone on his own and say, hey, call me the Bear Whisperer. But he's a pretty good-natured guy. As long as you stay on his good side. Yeah, I'll be up there with Johnny, third season, and I'm excited about it. We'll see what happens. Like Johnny said, it's hunting. Sometimes, it's always a good experience regardless of the outcome, especially when you're hunting with good people, and Johnny is good people. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the unveiling of the Fred Bear statue in Grayling coming up here in just a couple of weeks. Tom Jenkins will be joining me. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. You can hear us on the other side of the state in the Thumb, Sandusky, WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT, 600 AM, 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Paul Perrone and VersaSkins will be at the Woods and Water Outdoor Weekend, the 6th, 7th, and 8th, coming up here real soon. Go to the website versaskins.com to get VersaSkins in big sizes, 4, 5, 6X, also for saddle hunters. And now the new news is that VersaSkins is also on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and do a search for VersaSkins brand, you can get them there too. How cool is that? Versaskins.com, that's versaskins.com. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Okay, speaking of upcoming events, big event coming up in Grayling, the unveiling of the Fred Bear statue. This has been in the works for a long time. Tom Jenkins has been involved in this right since the beginning, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tom, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mike. How are you? And also appreciate you having me on.
No, the pleasure is mine. I appreciate what you've done. Tell me about, you hearing that echo, Charlie? Tom, are you hearing an echo on your end? Just curious.
No, I'm not.
Okay, perfect. All right, we can deal with it then. Okay, so tell me what you got coming up.
Okay, the unveiling statue event will take place in Grayling in the city park. It will be take place on September the 7th, and it will start at roughly 1 p.m. We're hoping to have some a band play just prior to that, and then we'll start the program and with guest speakers and various things. The whole program is a major production, and everything is coming right on schedule. There's still plenty to do, but it will all be ready for the unveiling on the early afternoon of September 7th.
So is this a life-size statue, or what is it?
Yes, it is. The base is probably about 4 feet tall, and it's solid cement, and it has decorative stone around it with two 18 by 24 brass plaques. That the front one has a bust and has a little story about Fred Bear on it. Then the back is all the names of the people that donated $1,000 or more to fund the thing. Then around the ground around the base is bricks with many people's names. The statue itself is bronze and will be 7.5 feet tall.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's got to be easy to see. You can easily see it from 72, which drives right past it. You know, the park is located probably about a block from the center of town, and it's on your left if you're going north. And at night there'll be a light on it. So, yeah, everybody in Grayling is in on this, and everybody's doing everything they can do to get this done.
A lot of work has gone into this. A lot of expense. Why do this, Tom?
Well, really, that's kind of a complex question, Mike. But I guess to me, in a nutshell, it's the right thing to do. I mean, Fred Bear built the finest archery tackle in Grayling for 30 years, and during that time he done much for the whole community. On various things, many things, supported so many different things. And even today, when you walk around or you meet at various places, people of Grayling that either work there, or their mom and dad work there, or their grandparents, and all that stuff, everybody speaks so highly of him. And on top of all that, I mean, just in general, he was a great human being on so many fronts. Early on in his life, he was involved in all levels of archery, and including Michigan's first bow season, that took place in 1937. And when you read the milestones of Fred Bear, which is, you can read those in the 1983 Bear Archery Catalog, that's a fraction of what really he accomplished in his life. So, like I said, there's so many reasons that it needs to be there, but especially in Grayling. Now, I'm aware that there's two other bronze statues of Fred Bear. Now, isn't that incredible? Just think about that. There's so many people that deserve probably a statue, and they don't even have one. And here's Fred Bear, and he's going to have 3. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's even going to be more because of being all that he was.
Yeah, but there's only one. There's only going to be one in Grayling, though, which is where Bear Archery started. So, congrats to you guys again. That is coming up Saturday, September 7th. Is there a Facebook page or a website or something, Tom, that you want to send people to?
Yeah, you can go to Facebook. It is a private group. It's called Fred Bear Day. That's it, Fred Bear Day.
Fred Bear Day.
And so you just request to join. We click you in, and you can see every detail about all the program, what's coming up, and everything, and look at the past events that we've had, because we've had Fred Bear Day events for 7 years.
Fred Bear Day on Facebook. Tom, congrats on all the hard work you've put into this. It's going to be a wonderful event. I'm hoping to be there. I'd like to see lots of other folks there as well. That's Saturday, September 7th in Grayling, the unveiling of the Fred Bear statue. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk a little early goose season right here on Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. I say hour number 2. This is actually a 3-hour show. I am blessed to have the opportunity to sit in this studio at this microphone for 3 hours every week talking about the outdoors. I've been doing this for a long time, and you know what? I still love it. and I appreciate the fact that you allow me this opportunity. It is a radio show. First and foremost, it is a radio show, and I do think the best way to listen, if you can, is on your local radio station. If you can't, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in that one part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, you can always hear the podcast version of the show. You can hear the podcast on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. By the way, that website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, is kind of a landing page. It'll get you to all of my different social media outlets. So if you go to MikeAveryOutdoors.com, you can watch the live streams. You can hear the podcast, all kinds of good things. It's on my Facebook page, too. I'm very active on Facebook. It's on all of the different podcast platforms, Audible, Apple Music, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify. I even put it on YouTube. Though it's not a video podcast, it's an audio podcast. But I just thought of something, though. You can go to YouTube or my Facebook page, and you can see a video version of the first segment of the show, because I live stream that every week. I keep forgetting about that. Speaking of podcasts, I do a monthly podcast for 3 of my advertising partners. I do one for Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, the new Angler Quest, Quest, and Primal Outdoors as well. So keep an ear out for those. Well, I am, obviously you can tell if you listen to the first hour, I'm getting pretty excited about the upcoming bear season. If I was a waterfowl hunter, I'd be real excited about the early goose season. And actually, as a homeowner who has a pond in the backyard that is inundated and just overrun by geese, I'm pretty excited about the early goose season too. I want you guys to get out there and thin those things out. Glenn Alfieri is with GK Calls, gkcalls.com. He's an avid waterfowl hunter. When I reached out to Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News, I said, Tom, I'm looking for an early goose season expert. He said, Glenn is your guy. He gave me the phone number, and Glenn agreed, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Glenn, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's a real honor to be on.
Well, I don't know about an honor, but I'm sure honored to have you with us. Tell me a little bit about you and your background in waterfowl hunting.
So, been a hunter my whole life. Grew up big into the upland birds, and raised by my dad, and that's what he did. And he got into waterfowl hunting in the early 90s, and becoming with waterfowl hunting, you need decoys and blinds and everything like that. You can't just throw a shotgun in the truck and go out and do it successfully. So being a small business owner already, he saw the vision to, hey, let's start a supply business, and we will, start selling different things for hunting, and we can get the stuff for a little bit cheaper for our own, benefit. And we were selling everything from blinds to decoys to ammunition and other people's duck and goose calls. And we started, we made some great relationships in the industry, and we were selling a gentleman, Todd Sabota down. He was in Adrian, Michigan, had a goose call called the Giant Killer Goose Call. And we were selling that, and it was doing really well. And Todd was kind of getting out of things, and we were kind of amping up as things were being, more successful for us. So we kind of reformatted the business and really focused on the duck and goose call industry, and changed our name from Wing Feather to GK Calls. And from there, won some world titles and every major contest in the United States and Canada. And 25 years later, here we are. So we're still doing it.
So you are based in Michigan, right?
We are. Yep. We're based out of Troy.
Oh, I love that. I love this Michigan connection. That makes me even more excited to talk to you, Glenn. The sport of waterfowl hunting, my buddies who are waterfowl hunters, I mean, they're hardcore. There's no dipping your toe in there. So, you jump in all the way, right? What's so addicting about it?
I am a big deer hunter myself, and I love deer hunting. And I think about deer hunting, I actually like the habitat side of it more than I actually like sitting in the blind for 12 hours. I like seeing the creation of it, and, building something for them to be attracted to. And I think with waterfowl hunting, it's a similar thing where, you can go to a field where ducks or geese were using, but you still have to create a really good hide. You have to create, you have to be a good caller. You have to know how to set your decoys. So, I've been on hunts where, you thought, there was 500 birds in the field. The next morning you thought you were going to be, eating breakfast by 10 o'clock, but it's not always the case. So I think what's addicting about it is just the challenge of it. And also the camaraderie side of it. You're able to drink coffee and talk in between, the volleys of birds coming in. And so it's just kind of a combination of a lot of things that make it really special.
So the early goose season that's coming up here, how is that different than the rest of the season? Is it its own unique experience, or is it just like an early start, an early look at the rest of the season?
It is unique. Every year is a little bit different. I've had years where I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt and getting a sunburn, and then I've had years where it's cold and it feels more like October, November. So every year is kind of a crapshoot on what it's going to be like, and also a lot of how the hunting goes dictates on what the crops are like this year, on crop rotation, what has come off, have they cut the winter wheat, have they, is there fields that are, ready to be hunted, and also, weather, again, going back to weather, it's driven on, how many birds you're going to have in the area. So you're hunting a lot of resident birds early on. The one benefit is a lot of those birds are not educated yet. So, the one advantage is you're hunting, a little bit birds that haven't been shot at a million times yet. So that's one of the nice things about September is you get a lot of the birds that come in and they haven't seen the spread before. They haven't been shot at, so they're not as educated. So it's a little bit easier on that aspect, but still challenging nonetheless.
How long does it take those birds to get smart? If they get shot at once, is it a different ball game? Or
Absolutely.
It is, just one time.
Yep. Yeah, they they'll always react different after getting shot at, and that's what, one of the big things that we try to really, keep an eye on and spread the word about is not shooting the roosts. A lot of guys, will let the birds go, because birds roost at night, typically on water, and it's a small pond or a cow pasture, things like that. And those birds will leave and go out to the fields to feed in the morning, and then they'll come back. So a lot of guys will let those birds go out, wait for them to come back, and then shoot them at the roost. But that's kind of like their home sanctuary. So, once you shoot that sanctuary, very rarely do those birds go back to that. So we try to really keep those areas safe, so they always have a kind of a safe zone to go back to, and then just hunt the fields where, they're going to feed during the morning and the night.
So at this point, these are resident birds. We haven't seen the flight birds come down yet. And in my very limited experience, but talking with my buddies, it's a lot of family groups of birds, right? At this point, if you see a flock, that's likely going to be that family flock this time of year.
Yep. We definitely smaller groups, which is nice. We set up, with decoys, it's definitely a smaller spread. You're not putting out, 20 dozen decoys or anything like that. So you kind of, I know you're a big fisherman, so it's kind of like match the hatch with decoy spread. So, the biggest thing with goose hunting is scouting or duck hunting, putting the time in, seeing what the birds are, where the birds are, how they're, spread out on the field. Are they in the middle? Are they on a hill? Are they towards the edge? And then same thing with the decoys, match the hatch where you're matching what they're doing out there. So typically this time of year, it's those small family groups. So only a couple dozen decoys, and, the number one thing is a good hide.
A good hide. I want to follow up on that, Glenn. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Glenn Alfieri of GK Calls, the website gkcalls.com, gkcalls.com. Glenn, I don't know if you got a call next to you, too. Maybe after the break you can give us an example of what something sounds like. But we're talking with Glenn Alfieri about this upcoming early goose season that starts September 1st I think it's pretty much statewide, and I'll tell you what, thin those birds out because we got a bunch of them in the pond behind the house. After we get done with our conversation with Glenn, we're going to turn our attention to Amy Trotter of MUCC and wrapping up their summer youth camp. Now, you remember that MUCC's youth camp was the charity that we had the first annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing for, and we raised $10,000 for the youth camp. Thank you to all the support of that. And our Ask Avery segment, we're going to feature Corporal Ken Lowell answering the question, why are there so few hunter safety classes around this year? So lots coming up in hour number 2, and then in hour number 3, we're switching our attention to fishing with Mark Romanack of Fishing 411. Lots more coming up. So glad you're with us right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Carroll on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine, all I got to do is this, right? You know what sound that is. You want to hear it again? That is the sound of my Rapid River knife locking back in the locked position. I just took it out of my pocket. I carry one of my Rapid River knives with me all the time. I have 3 of them now. You know, it's kind of like an addiction. Once you get one of these, you want more. And I don't think I'm going to be done with just 3 of them either. I'm going to keep collecting them. Why do I like Rapid River knives? Number 1, because they're a Michigan-based family-owned company. I love that. They make great products. They're handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. They come with a lifetime guarantee, and anytime you need them refurbished or sharpened, you can ship them off to Rapid River Knives, or better yet, go to their showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River. There, you can see their entire collection of knives. You can watch their folks make knives. The showroom is absolutely beautiful. If you go there and use the promo code Avery10, you'll get 10% off on your order. If you can't make it to the showroom, go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us, and you can use the promo code Avery10 there as well. rapidriverknifeworks.us, a great Michigan-based company. Now I'm learning about another Michigan-based company, GK Calls, gkcalls.com. We're talking with Glenn Alfieri of GK Calls. Glenn, we're talking about this early goose season. How nice is it to be able to get a jump on your favorite, well, one of your favorite fall sports, September 1st?
It's a blast. I mean, we're 16 days away now. It's a fun time of year for us with the call company because everybody's so excited. So, we're doing a lot of the outdoor shows right now. We just did Bay City Waterfowl Festival, and we have we'll be in Harbor Beach this weekend at the VFW, doing a kind of a call tune-up calling seminar for everyone. And then Woods and Water weekend, September 6th through the 8th, and then Point Moulet Waterfowl Festival. So it's a fun time of year for us because we get to see everybody, kind of catch up on how hunting season went last year. We came out with a new goose call this year, so it's an exciting time because everybody's eager to try that out. So it's a lot of fun for us.
Glenn, just to clarify, we're doing a little time shifting this week, so the folks won't hear this show until the weekend of the 24th. So the next time they can see you will be at the Woods and Water Show coming up the 6th, 7th, and 8th in Emily City. And I think Tom said you're doing a seminar, a clinic.
Not
that you know of.
I'm happy to do so. We do a lot of them at every show. We give a lot of calls away for kids too. We just gave away 100 at the Bay City show that we were talking about, and we're doing a big giveaway at Point Moulet. So I'm happy to do one if Tom needs me. So
how important is calling in this early season? I feel like I feel like you can get a little away with a little bit more during this early season in all aspects of goose hunting because, like you said, you're hunting, at least early in the season, uneducated birds.
Absolutely. like right before the break, we mentioned I would say the number one most important thing is scouting, because you have to spend the time to find where the birds are feeding. Number two is your hide, which is, making sure whether you're hunting out of an A-frame or a fixed blind or layout blinds, that you do a really good job of blending them into the field that you're hunting. That's what we always spend the most time on, and I think it's one thing that's overlooked the most, because if they see you, they're not going to land. And then, third, I would say, is calling. Definitely early season, you can get away with a little bit more, but it is a very important aspect as the season goes on. And with so many waterfowl hunters out there now, and so many guys in different fields, that's what really can set you apart is the calling and making it sound as real as possible to make them comfortable to come in and check you out.
Are these birds creatures of habit? Will they go to the same fields to feed every day unless they're somehow disturbed?
Yeah, it's either disturbed or they're done with that field. They'll there's no food left for them to eat. So, we've watched birds, and this definitely happens a lot in early season. You'll watch them the whole month, and they'll be hitting this one field, that's 200-acre field that they're feeding on every day. You set up September 1st, and then they go to a different, different field to feed. So yeah. If you've done it long enough, you've seen it a million times, and no rhyme or reason why, that next day is why they're done, but it's definitely an interesting thing.
And that's what keeps us coming back, right? In all of our outdoor passions, you can never fully master it, and every trip holds the excitement of being the best day out there ever, and there's no guarantees.
Right. That's why it's hunting and not harvesting,
exactly, right? Exactly. Hey, listen, talking about calls, GK Calls, gkcalls.com. Do you happen to have a call there nearby, Glenn?
Yeah, I have a goose call.
Let's hear what that sounds like.
Sure. Could you hear that okay?
Oh, we could hear it. If I was a goose, I would be heading your direction right now. Are there different types of calls, or is that the go-to call, the standard call for goose hunting?
There's definitely different models. So, we have several different models in our lineup, and we have the ranges is kind of how fast you can use them and how deep the call is. So typically a longer call is going to be a little bit deeper, and it's going to be a little bit slower because it takes the air pressure longer to travel through it. So that in turn is, you're going to use that for your big resident birds. You want that deeper sound. You don't need to get super high pitched. And then we have calls that are extremely short, and those are high-pitched and super fast. And what we use those for typically are like hunting traffic. So if you're kind of two different theories, you either hunt the X where the birds are feeding every day, or you hunt traffic, which is you're in a field between the roost and the X. So those birds are going to be flying over the field. So you need to kind of talk to them more. So you need to get super fast. You want to get a lot more calling and kind of saying, hey guys, come try our field rather than going where you've been going. So, with anything, it's not always possible to always get permission to be on the X because either, someone already has it or someone, just doesn't want you to hunt there. So, because you want to still be hunting, you kind of got to improvise. So sometimes you're hunting those traffic fields, and that's kind of where the different call types can matter, is where you want to either be, super fast and loud, or you just want to be, like I said, the deeper calls for finishing birds as they get closer. And typically, any goose caller is going to have 2 or 3 different models of call on their lanyard for kind of those different scenarios.
And because we are humans, more calls are better.
Exactly, and that's good for our business as well.
How is it getting access to property for goose hunting? These days, getting access for deer hunting can be very, very hard. What's it like as a goose hunter?
It all depends on the area. I would say it's harder than ever to get it just because I feel like there's more waterfowlers doing it. So, like anything, the numbers go up. And then also the areas where you see a lot of deer hunters, a lot of the deer hunters don't want you in there goose hunting because, once October comes around, September you're kind of clear, so you don't run into too much of that. But guys that bow hunt, once October season comes in, you kind of compete with that as well because, having 4 or 5 guys out there with 3 shots per gun, shooting a volley of birds, it can cause a lot of disturbance. So it's kind of, it all depends, but, there's always alternatives like, we're very lucky to have Lake St. Clair and Saginaw Bay and things like that for guys to go out and, do hunting out there where you don't need permission. But everybody, being surrounded by the Great Lakes, there's a good mix of, the diver duck hunters versus the field hunters. I'm a big field hunter myself. It's just kind of what I've always done. I've done both, but, it's so I think part of the fun and the challenge is finding that field and then, getting permission, whether it be, you got to call this farmer to find this farmer and to get that guy's phone number. It's like, the fun of the chase is it's fun getting it.
And how long before the flight birds come down, or is that completely weather dependent?
I would say it's completely weather dependent. I mean, north winds, obviously, that's a big factor, and weather. I mean, last year was a really mild winter, and we didn't get a lot. We had I hunt the Thumb area a lot, and we didn't see flight birds. It was definitely a tougher year than past years, and again, weather dependent. If it doesn't, freeze to the north of us, there's no reason for them to rush to get down. And it's funny with the business that we're in is that, I talk to guys all over Canada and the United States, and us being in Michigan, a lot of, in the Mississippi Flyway, the guys will ask us, hey, how are the birds? Have you seen them yet? Are they coming through? So we kind of give reports along that way, and it's definitely weather dependent.
And then is it different hunting the flight birds? Is that a whole different critter?
Yes and no. It's really exciting when you're hunting a north wind day and there's, a flock of migrators that are, 6 miles up in the sky that are, they're migrating and they haven't had their mind set on where they're going to land yet. And, hunting those birds, again, that goes to like your fast, loud calling and watching those birds, if you can kind of get their attention and they'll, come down from the heavens, we call it, and there's nothing like that as drawing a big group of migrators. It's a special sight, and it's a lot of fun to do.
Well, Glenn Alfieri, it's been a pleasure to talk with you, and now that I know about another family-owned, Michigan-based outdoor-related company, that makes me very happy, and I wish you a wonderful early season, in fact, the rest of the season, and congrats and good luck on the business.
Thank you again, and thanks for the opportunity to come on the show.
My pleasure. Glenn Alfieri of GK Calls, gkcalls.com, gkcalls.com. I have a love-hate relationship with geese. I love the sound of geese. I was sitting in the backyard last night, in fact. I may have been there smoking a cigar and just enjoying life right at dusk. And as Glenn said, the birds come in, they come into the pond. They come into the pond to spend the night. And it's like, I don't know, 100 birds. They fly right over my head. I love the sound of them. And as long as they stay in the pond, we're good. When they come in the yard, then things change. We'll take a break. When we come back, Amy Trotter of MUCC right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS, 1320 AM. And let's go to Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. As we get into the fall season, The walleye fishing on the bay will get hot. The colder it gets, the hotter the action will be. If you're not going to be taking advantage of the fall fishing and you're looking to get your boat out of the water, and I know it's getting a little early for that, but just looking ahead, storage, winterization, etc., the folks at Linwood Beach can help you out. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. I want to turn our attention now to MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs, a group that I have much support for. Amy Trotter is the executive director there. She joins us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line now. Amy, how are you? I haven't seen you since the golf outing. How is life in Lansing?
We're doing great. We had a little time to relax this summer, but not much because we were busy.
You were busy. Okay, can we talk real briefly about the golf outing? I thought for a first-year event, it was wonderful. We raised $10,000 for your youth camp, and I think with a first-year event, we have to consider that a success.
It was a great success, and the thanks truly goes to you, the team there at West Branch Country Club, and all of our super generous sponsors. Everybody had a great time. We had great weather during our event and some really great food and prizes, too.
And we don't have the dates for next year yet, but we're going to do it again next year.
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe next year someone will get that hole-in-one challenge.
Maybe. The money was for youth camp. Now, we're doing a little time shifting here, so we're actually a week ahead of time. But as we are sitting here in the studio right now, you just wrapped up the season, didn't you?
We did. We had a great season this year at our Michigan Outdoors Youth Camp. And then for those who don't know, it's actually down in Chelsea in the Waterloo Rec area. We've been running it for more than 75 years all around the state, but we've found that home in Chelsea for the last dozen years or so.
What, I characterize it as, it's an opportunity to get kids involved in the outdoors, but it goes well beyond that. What happens at the camp, and how was this past summer?
Well, we take kids from all across the state, and what was really cool even this year, we had 255 kids from 36 Michigan counties, and we even had 5 out-of-state kids come to our camp. And that's pretty typical. They're coming from all across the state, and they're coming from all different backgrounds. So some kids have already shot in their first buck. Other kids have never seen the stars. And that's just amazing, of course, that we even have kids that haven't seen stars. But, if you live in an urban area, light pollution, all of that. But they can come to MUCC's youth camp and experience things sometimes for the first time. Sometimes they're refining their skills. So every kid gets the chance to shoot archery, shoot 22s, fish, kayak, all the traditional things we love about outdoor camp. But we also do a lot about the science of conservation, too. So they're going to learn about forestry, macroinvertebrates, bird identification, all of those things as well. So we really try to infuse them with both the skills and the knowledge to be true conservation stewards when they walk out of there.
That is the first time the word macroinvertebrates has ever been used on this show in more than 30 years.
Bugs. We're talking about bugs and little things in the water.
Amy, as folks are hearing, let me back up. I talked to several people who are now going to join MUCC. They were at the golf outing. They didn't know much about MUCC. As they learned more about your group, they said, you know what, that's a group I want to be a part of. And you guys are putting a push on for membership this year too, aren't you?
We absolutely are. We have been really trying to ramp up our efforts to connect to those individuals in Michigan or outside of Michigan who want to join us to support the cause of conservation. And you do not have to be a member of an affiliate club in order to join. You can join directly for just $35 a year.
$35 a year. I don't know how you get done what you do when your membership fees are so low.
Well, we get a lot of support from a lot of other funding sources, too. So membership is just one part part of the overall revenue stream. Of course, we take donations. We have these great kinds of events. We do charge for our summer camp, although there are some tremendous supporters who have actually provided scholarships for kids for many years. And, those are the kinds of things we couldn't do summer camp or what we do in Lansing and beyond without all of those tremendous supporters.
Amy, and as folks are hearing this radio show the weekend of the 24th, I want to let them know that this Wednesday coming up, you're going to join me for Wednesday Night Live, and that's always a very popular segment.
Absolutely. We try to stump Amy every time, but, I'm looking for a challenge.
I've never seen anybody stump you. Amy Trotter of MUCC, Executive Director of the website MUCC.org. That's MUCC.org. Again, Amy is going to join me this Wednesday night coming up on Wednesday Night Live. It'll be your chance to ask her questions. You get online with us, Wednesday Night Live, 7 o'clock, and you can ask Amy. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll wrap up this second hour of the show, speaking of asking, with this week's Ask Avery question, and it deals with hunter safety classes. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in the Upe in Manistee, WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. You can pose a question that you would like me to address personally, myself, or something you want me to pass along to somebody else, either in MUCC or DNR or whatever. Now, the best way to get these questions to me is to send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I also get questions suggested on our weekly live streams when I'm on Behind the Mic Wednesday mornings or Wednesday Night Lives in the evening. In this last couple of weeks, this question has come up a lot, and I'll paraphrase here, combining a bunch of different ones. Hey, Mike, I have a son, daughter, grandson, daughter, whatever, who wants to go hunting, but we're having a hard time finding the hunter education classes, the hunter safety classes. I've heard this for the last couple of years from many, many different people. So I thought, well, I don't really, I'm not involved in hunter education, or haven't had any kids involved in this for a long time. So I reached out to the DNR and said, can you direct me to somebody who can answer this question? They said, yes, Corporal Ken Lowell knows the ins and outs of this. And I reached out to the corporal, and he has agreed to join us this week. In fact, he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Ken, welcome back to the show. A pleasure to have you along with us. How have you been?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Getting to be it's always busy for you guys, but man, this fall coming up is when things are going to start to rock, aren't they?
Yeah, we're getting real busy with all kinds of good stuff. Fall is my favorite time of year. I think as many of our Michigan folks as well. So yeah, we're rocking right now.
Absolutely, good. Absolutely. So let's talk about the hunter education classes, the hunter safety classes. Is there a shortage of availability? It sure seems like it.
Well, we see some notes about being short on classes, but the truth of it is, last year we hit an all-time high, or not all-time, I'm sorry, a 10-year high with 475 classes just for hunter safety around the state. We do have lower instructor numbers since COVID. Obviously, a lot of folks decided not to continue on with hunter education, but the instructors that we have now are doing a great job fulfilling classes throughout the state the best they can, because these folks are volunteers. They don't get paid to do this. If they weren't teaching our classes for us, our COs would have to do that. And our COs, we need those guys in the field as much as possible. So, volunteers are doing the best they can. But we're seeing an uptick since COVID. We're getting back into our normal range. In fact, we're exceeding a 10-year high from last year. And this year the numbers are, they're on track for a similar amount of classes throughout the state.
So I wonder why it is that there's this perception. I mean, if you're hitting a 10-year high, there's not a lack of classes out there. I wonder if it's just that people aren't looking in the right place, maybe.
Yeah, we always try to direct them to the website. I mean, you anywhere you get on the website and go to search for classes, it lists all the classes that are all over the state, not just in your area. And you can also search in your area for classes, and that's sometimes the hard part because we have certain counties that run a lot of classes and other counties that don't. So if they're in a county that doesn't have a lot of activity, they may be the ones that are reaching out saying, "Hey, we can't find this." We put out a big press release a month ago. Our Hunter Education Week is this week right now. We have 62 classes going this week alone in 42 counties throughout the state of Michigan, which is really cool. And so we put out a press release about a month ago saying, "Hey, look for this week. If you're looking to get in, this is a good time to do it." So that's kind of where we're at there.
Are online classes an option?
Yes, yeah. Online is probably our most popular now. Online class, you can take that at your leisure. You have a year after you take that class to complete an in-person field day, which is mandatory. It's a 4-hour field day. That is, after the fact, after you take the class, you bring in your voucher, you show your instructor, "Hey, I took the Hunter Ed class, here it is." And then they will run you through the field day, which is essentially, you take the test, you run through the gun handling, all the stuff that's mandatory in-person type stuff. Yep.
And who are these instructors? You say they're not, hopefully not COs because you're tied up on other things. So who are these people?
Yeah, they're volunteers that have a like mind like us. They are outdoor enthusiasts, shooting enthusiasts, folks that are just giving their time. Like I said, nobody's getting paid to do this. Now there are some sheriff's departments that run. Oakland County, for one, they run a bunch of Hunter Ed classes down there, and it's ran by deputies that are getting paid. But the majority of our Hunter Education volunteers are unpaid, and they're just doing it because they want to, promote hunting and hunter safety to our youth. And really, in every student, it's not just young people anymore. We're seeing more and more older individuals taking hunter safety, which is good. But we're always trying to recruit some of these volunteers. We're always looking for new volunteers. Like I said, since COVID, we've lost quite a few volunteers. In fact, whole clubs have went off the radar for hunter safety, and we're trying to bring those guys back.
Ken, Corporal, I appreciate your time. Thanks for kind of clarifying that. Have a good fall, and I suspect you and I will be talking again.
Yeah, that sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right, Corporal Ken Lowell of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. If they're hitting a 10-year high, it's hard to say that there's a shortage of classes, right?
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network, heard on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And as you are hearing this show, again, we're doing a little time shifting this week. As you are hearing this show, Labor Day weekend is next weekend. Don't ask me. I don't know how that happens. But it happens every year, right? Time just seems to fly. We make all these plans. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then we get busy with other things. We get busy with work and kids and grandkids and ball games, and we don't seem to do the things that we want, the outdoor activities that we have so much passion for. I love passion. I love passionate people. I have much respect for people who have a passion for what they're doing. And I've been blessed to know and work with a lot of those people over the years. When it comes to fishing, I can't think of anybody more passionate about it than the Romanacks, Mark Romanack, Jake Romanack. They're Fishing 411. And when the first two segments of this show were, as I look at it, pretty much hunting related, right? So I wanted to wrap up the show on a fishing note this week because some of the best fishing of the year is coming up in the fall. But there is this transition, this mindset, okay, when you go from summertime fishing to fishing in the fall, you've got to adjust. And I don't think there's anybody better to talk about that than the man himself, Mark Romanack, who's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Mark, welcome back. How are you?
Mike, I am doing great. Good to hear from you, my friend.
Always a pleasure to hear your voice. And as I look at your online presence, your social media presence, you guys have been into some big fish here lately.
It's been a magnificent year for salmon. I don't know that I can remember a better year, Mike. I don't know if we're good or if we're lucky, but either way, we've been smacking down on some absolutely spectacular king salmon.
This fishery we have in our state, I don't care if it's walleye or smallmouth or sturgeon or muskies or salmon. Man, we've got some good fishing here.
We certainly do, and there's just no doubt that the opportunities in the Great Lakes are endless. I mean, there's so many different kinds of species and so many different ways a person can fish. With just the 5 Great Lakes alone, not including the connecting waterways, that tie them all together, you couldn't fish them all in a lifetime. I'm doing my best to hit every
I was thinking you're giving it a pretty good shot.
Yes, I am.
Hey, listen, how is the show going? You guys have been doing this for a long time now. Now Jake is right there by your side. I look at your show, I got to be honest with you, as basically the definitive how-to and educational fishing show out there, as well as being entertaining.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike, because it really is. We try very hard to make it educational, and the entertainment kind of comes along with that, if you will. But we're filming season 19. 19. So, I mean, we're closing in on 20 years in outdoor television, which is a huge milestone.
Well, it certainly is. Do you still enjoy it?
I do. I look forward to it. We just filmed a show recently on Lake Michigan, and it was very exciting. There's no question that it can be a lot of travel and a lot of hours and a lot of work. But I got a great team besides the, Jake, who's got a lot of youthful enthusiasm. We also have Gabe Van Warmer, who works for us full time, and that's a name I bet you recognize. Oh, yeah. Gabe worked for us for many years, and so he's just a magnificent videographer, still photographer, editor. And so he travels with us. And then my wife, Mary, of course, is still working in the business. She does our social media, which you referenced. And then Jake's wife, Paige, is working for us now. And she's doing our weekly newsletter. So it's still a very much family business. And even though Gabe's not part of my family, I consider him family. He's worked for us for a long time. And he's a great man.
Yeah, he is a really great guy. I think about if you're doing a hunting TV show, if you do it right, say a deer hunting show, you could do a very good show and never take an animal. But with a fishing show, you've got to catch fish to get a show, don't you?
I would hope so. The entertainment value would go down dramatically if you didn't catch anything. And I think for us, the education part of it is big. People like that, but they also like the fellowship, camaraderie, the banter between father and son. And so I think it's just a natural that people do enjoy that. And we don't have any intention of stopping anytime soon. I'm not looking at retiring anytime soon. And even when I do, the business is in good hands because Gabe and Jake will take over and maybe bring some new faces in. I don't know. That's not going to be my call. But ultimately, I hope to be around doing the show for quite a few more years.
Well, I hope so as well. All right, so let's talk about the topic at hand, this transition from summertime to fall fishing. Is that a thing, or am I just making this up?
No, it's a thing. In fact, a lot of people get caught up in that transition, not realizing it's happening. And as fishermen, I would say that our biggest fault is that we're creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that once things are working for us, we tend to go back to that well and do the same things over and over and over again. But nothing stays the same in fishing. I mean, the weather is changing, the seasons are changing, the water temperatures are changing. And if you don't evolve with these transitions, you're going to find yourself doing the wrong things at the wrong time of year. And the fall is probably the biggest one, because we come out of this summer weather pattern where the water is warm and you can do a lot of things. You control fast, you control a wide variety of lures and catch fish doing a whole bunch of different ways. And then suddenly the water gets cold. And I tell you what, if you don't adapt to slowing down and using select lures, you're probably going to think there's not a fish left in the lake.
I know there's no such thing as an average or a typical year anymore, but does this transition, is it a slow, gradual event, or if you get a couple of cold nights and boom, it happens right away?
Well, it is a gradual event. I think that's why it sneaks up on people, because every year is a little different. Definitely we've had warmer falls and warmer winters in recent years, and so that kind of messes with this transition a little bit. But sooner or later, that water temperature gets down to what I describe as ice cold conditions. In some years, that might not actually happen until later in the fall. Some years we can fish all winter, that we don't even have ice up anymore. It seems like in recent years we haven't had an ice issue. But this transition will happen, whether it happens slowly or whether it happens quickly, it will happen.
Are we talking the Great Lakes, rivers, inland lakes, or is it across the board? This is going to happen everywhere eventually in the fall.
Yeah, I guess the short answer there is yes. It will happen in every body of water. I think the Great Lakes are the slowest to cool because they're so large, so it takes more time for them to cool down. Inland lakes are the first to cool down because they're smaller and more influenced by the air temperature. Rivers, same thing. So all of these bodies of water are going to cool, but they don't cool at the same levels and at the same predictable rates.
How much of a drop in water temp? What does it take to see a change in the fish's behavior?
Well, normally, I break things down, from in general terms as far as for, I would describe it as cold water, cool water, warm water. This is just a simple, generalization without putting actual numbers to it.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, cold water is water that's colder than 50 degrees. Cool water is water that would be somewhere between 50 and 70 degrees. And water warmer than 70 degrees is obviously warm water in my opinion. So, I've just tried to just explain it to people in that simple category: cool water, cold water, warm water, and that helps people kind of get a grasp of it.
And you kind of alluded to this earlier, but the changes we make as the water temp drops, slower speeds is one thing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you have to understand that fish are they're cold-blooded creatures any way you slice it. And so when the water gets cooler, their metabolism slows down, their activity level slows down. And so slower trolling speeds or just slower presentations in general, even if you're jigging or casting, you have to slow everything down as the water starts to cool.
Bait size at all?
Bait size, bait types. Classic example, I love to chase my walleyes. In this time of year, in the summertime, we're catching a lot of fish on presentations like night crawler harnesses. We're catching a lot of fish on presentations like spoons. Spoons, you can go really fast and catch walleyes, readily. Night crawler harnesses, of course, you're going slower, but they still work very well in the summertime. But then as soon as the water temperature starts to go down, crawler harnesses turn off like a light switch. And once that water gets warmer or cooler, I should say, than about 50 degrees, you barely can buy a fish on a spinner, a night crawler harness. Same kind of thing with spoons. Once that water gets colder, it gets down that 60 to 50 degree range, spoons just die off and they're just not productive anymore. And so a lot of this is learned through experience, but there's lots of ways to get this information. And things like your radio show, for example, gives a lot of great information that people listen and they take the advice and make them a much better fisherman in a much shorter period of time.
I only pass along the information experts like you give me, Mark Romanack. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. We are talking with Mark Romanack of Fishing 411, the website fishing411.net, but you can find these guys all over social media as well. By the time you hear this show, you're going to have to scroll down their feed a little bit, but check out the fish they were getting on Lake Michigan here a couple of weeks ago. Very beautiful fish, very cool. Anyway, we will take a break. Oh, also, when we come back, I'm going to talk to Mark about their lineup of crankbaits. I used them this summer on the bay, and I absolutely love them. There's a couple of things I really like about them, so we'll talk about that and much more. Making the transition from summer fishing to fall with Mark Romanack of Fishing 411, fishing411.net. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC, that's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us, let's go to St. Joe, WSJM 94.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class, and if he can help me become a licensed charter captain, believe me, he can help you as well. Check out the website pmtcaptains.com for more info. That's pmtcaptains.com. John has classes across the state at different time schedules, so I'm sure you can find one that will fit into your schedule. Again, that's pmtcaptains.com. Now, to be clear, I got my captain's license not so I could run paid charters. I got my license so I could do charity charters and help different groups raise funds. A couple of reasons I would not attempt to be a full-blown charter captain, paid charter captain. Number one is I would not want to go into competition with my friends who are charter captains. I mean, I use them as resources. I have them as guests here on the show, and it just wouldn't seem right to do that. And secondly, and probably the biggest reason is, I'm just not that good of a fisherman. You know, I can go out and catch my fair share of fish and show people a good time on the angler quest, but to do it day in and day out, I couldn't do it. I have much respect for those guys. I have much respect for people who can look at a body of water and dissect it, whether it's a charter captain or a fishing educator like Mark Romanack. You know, I've known Mark for a long time, and I know him well enough that my mind doesn't work the way his does when it comes to fishing. Mark, is that something you're blessed with at birth, or is this a skill that you hone over the years?
I don't think anybody's born to be a good fisherman. I think ultimately the skills come from experience and watching what other people are doing, learning from other people. I know I had a whole lot of mentors in my life that helped me become a better fisherman. And I look at other people. I like to use my son Jake as an example. He grew up around my influences in fishing, but he also grew up around the influences of a whole bunch of other talented fishermen, professional anglers, tournament guys, charter captains, and the like. And the more people you surround yourself with who are good at what they do, the better you're going to be at what you do. And that's always kind of been my goal is to try and surround myself with talent, and it's helped out a lot.
And you've also been very much involved in the business of the fishing business. You've been involved in working with the folks at Offshore over the years, helping develop product. You've come out with your own line of fishing rods, a bait, the PWC, Precise Walleye Crank. I fell in love with that thing. Mark, you guys did a great job with that.
Sales are great on that, that lure around. And this year, of course, we came out with a PWC Lite, which is similar, just a little smaller version of the PWC, but with a little bit more lively action. And that was kind of a milestone for us. I've been around crankbaits my whole life and handled everybody else's crankbaits and fished with them and endorsed them, but never really had an opportunity to build one the way I wanted it built. And so when Bill Lewis gave us that opportunity, Jake and I jumped at it. And honestly, it's been one of the better decisions we've made in the fishing business. It gives us the opportunity to align ourselves with a company that's iconic. Bill Lewis has been around longer than I've been around. And they'll continue to be producing crankbaits probably long after I'm gone.
Aside from the action and the colors, I think the thing that I like the most or appreciate the most is, after running a lot of flicker minnows all summer with those little cheap, flimsy hooks, to put one of your PWC lights out there and go, okay, now this is a good set of hooks. These things aren't going to bend. These are going to hold up. I appreciate that.
Well, it wasn't rocket science, Mike. I like you. I've seen a lot of other crankbaits, and I've seen what their shortcomings are, and we did not want to make the same mistake. So we knew we weren't going to put hooks that were so thin and wispy in them that they would bend the first time that you caught a fish or the first time you unhooked a fish. We wanted stout hooks that would hold up. More importantly, we wanted super, super sharp hooks. And then we didn't want so darn many hooks. I mean, I'm not sure why crankbait manufacturers feel the necessity of putting 3 treble hooks on a typical crankbait. That third hook in the middle doesn't really help us catch many fish, but it sure catches the landing net, the carpet in the boat, your gloves. It catches on everything you don't want to catch. So.
Did you, when you were designing this bait, did you think about putting just the one treble on the bottom?
Well, there's certain lures that makes a lot of sense for. Like when we're fishing, for example, there's a wide wobbling bait called a maglip made by Yakima Bait. And I often fish that with just a hook on the, on the tail of the bait. And the reason I'm doing that is because we fish it in close proximity to structure all the time. And it just reduces snagging. Get that belly hook out of there, reduces the snagging capabilities. And so that makes a lot of sense. But in an open water trolling environment, I want at least 2 hooks on there if I can. So a front hook and a back hook, get rid of the middle hook. To me, that made the most sense.
Can we continue to troll right on through the fall? I mean, right up until we see ice?
Well, traditional thinking would have suggested no. I mean, and when I broke into the industry some 30-some years ago, nobody was trolling deep into the year. People were trolling up until about October or so, and that was about the end of it. It seems like once other things like deer season started or duck season started, people kind of gave up on fishing. But these days, hardcore fishermen are fishing all the way through the fall, all the way through the winter. In fact, in recent years, I've had the luxury of fishing the Great Lakes all 12 months. And I know that's a lot, it's weather dependent. I mean, obviously, if there's ice there, you can't troll. But we haven't had that kind of winter in recent years. So it doesn't matter how cold the water gets. You just have to slow down appropriately. We've caught a lot of walleyes now in 35, 36-degree water, which is literally one still night away from freezing.
And big walleye, right? In the fall, you'll see some big fish.
Absolutely. And that's, for me, that's really the charge of it, is because some of the biggest fish do come late in the fall. They've had a longer period to grow. They've had a whole year to get fat. They're nearing their spawning season, which takes place in the spring. And so they've got that egg mass going on. So if you're looking to put a personal best on the wall, December and January are probably the months that you're going to get it done. And there's no guarantee you're going to be fishing in February from a trolling perspective, but I just about guarantee you're going to be fishing in December these days.
When I look at the late season or even the winter fishery, trolling fishery on Lake Erie, it's just incredible. We're starting to see more and more guys on Saginaw Bay late in the year too.
Actually, they both are almost identical in my opinion. The same presentations, the same baits, the same strategies work equally well on both bodies of water. And in Green Bay, if a person wants to do a road trip and go to Wisconsin, or even in the Upper Peninsula, Monascon Bay fishes deep into December these days, and there's some big fish to be had there too. So, slow trolling, crankbait trolling, is producing the majority of those walleyes late in the season. There's no question about it.
Do you guys do much river fishing anymore? Because when I first met you, we were down there on the Saginaw River.
Well, I do a lot of it. I mean, it's still one of my favorite ways of fishing. I call it rod and hand fishing, where wherever you're doing, you've got the rod in your hand, you feel the bite, and I really enjoy that. Somewhere along the line, I got kind of pigeonholed as a troller, and so we do a lot of trolling. But I do so much trolling that it really is refreshing to be able to go someplace where I don't have to troll. So Saginaw River, Detroit River, we've shot shows there many times in recent years. I like to go to the Niagara River, which is over in New York, because I still like the steelhead fish. And I still like the feel of hooking a steelhead with that rod in my hand. Man, I enjoy doing that.
Looking at it from the outside, I think why you became known as a trolling expert goes right back to the Precision Trolling book. I mean, the Troller's Bible.
Well, certainly we put a lot of effort into that, and it's helped a lot of people better understand trolling. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy my trolling. And every minute that I'm doing it, I enjoy it. But I get probably more opportunities to do that than I do to fish with rod in hand. So when those rare opportunities come up where I can grab a rod and hold it in my hand and jig for fish or cast for fish, you can bet I'm taking advantage of that.
You mentioned that ice fishing across much of the state has been lacking the last few years. Boy, that breaks a lot of people's heart. I mean, I've never been a big ice fisherman, but the guys I know who are, they're they're hardcore. It's like another one of your passions, waterfowl hunting. People who are people who hunt waterfowl, they love it. People who ice fish, they love it. They'd rather be out there in the wintertime than they would in the summertime. And we haven't had that season, a great season lately.
Well, and I wish I had, the ability to predict what's going to happen weather-wise, but I like to think of these strange weather, patterns that we've been seeing in recent years as just cycles. And so I believe it's going to cycle back around. I mean, we've had, the last couple of summers were exceptionally dry. You'd have to admit that this has been an exceptionally wet summer. And so I think things just tend to cycle around. So guys like ice fish, I think it's only a matter of time until we get cold winters and ice again, and they'll be blessed with an opportunity to do what they love.
So you're telling them, hang in there, be patient.
Yeah, I tell it to Jake almost every day because I think he'd rather ice fish than open water fish, and it has been a struggle. In fact, he's had to travel to Minnesota and the Dakotas and Canada to even find ice.
I remember that, yeah. And I mentioned waterfowl hunting for a reason. You guys are hardcore waterfowlers, aren't you?
Well, we travel a lot to hunt waterfowl because it's not as great as it could be here in Michigan. We're just not in a good flyway. But if I have any spare time in October and November, you're probably going to find me chasing ducks and geese. Almost every day I'm home in the fall. I'm scouting for waterfowl. Don't get to hunt every day because we just don't have enough birds here to sustain day after day after day hunting. But when I find a good group of birds and can get permission on them, I can virtually guarantee you I'll postpone everything else in order to shoot some ducks and geese.
Is it a different world when I see you go up into Saskatchewan and stuff? Is that a whole different world of waterfowl hunting up there?
It's unlike nothing that you'll find in the States. If we had waterfowl hunting that good here in the States, it'd all be leased for big dollars, and you'd have to pay the long dollar in order to enjoy it. The landowners in Canada don't lease their properties. They're not allowed to lease them for hunting rights. And so it's a public domain kind of situation. And so if you're friendly, if you knock on the door and ask for permission, and if you treat their properties with respect, you'll get hunting permission. And they're very gregarious people. They enjoy visiting. In fact, sometimes they visit so much it's hard to get away from them and go do the hunting they came up there to do.
We must know some of the same people up there.
Canadians are wonderful people. Some of my closest friends, and they just are really, really fun people to be around, and some of the most gifting and generous people I've ever met in my life.
Wonderful. Mark, always a pleasure to talk with you. I wish you continued success, and I always appreciate our radio conversations because every time I talk with you, I learn something, so I thank you for that.
It's my pleasure, Mike. I always look forward to the visits as well.
Mark Romanack of Fishing 411, the website fishing411.net. That's fishing411.net. Just do a Google search for Mark Romanack or Fishing 411. You'll find all kinds of material out there, information, tactics, techniques, social media stuff, website stuff, Fishing 411. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, a few more thoughts I have, and then we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's coming up yet this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. And you can hear us in Saginaw on WSGW 790 AM 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. And for this 3 hours, this one small corner of the building I call the Outdoor Magazine studio, and they let me get away with it. I don't know why, but they let me get away with it. I'm here with Charlie Root. Charlie doing a wonderful job as always. It's raining outside right now, though, and the crowd of adoring fans. Charlie, there's nobody out there. I don't want to hurt your feelings or break your heart, but there's not a soul out there. But it's raining, so that explains that. If it was a sunny day, there would be probably 200-300 people out there going, Charlie, Charlie. But today we're just not hearing it. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's our nature and your nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. And you know what? As we go into this fall season, there's going to be a lot of maintenance. There's going to be a lot of trimming. There's going to be a lot of getting ready for the colder weather. Reader can help you out there with all kinds of projects, maintenance, mowing throughout the fall, spraying. They're good people. Every Reader crew that I've had at my house, and I've had several of them there over the years, they've just been hard-working, very knowledgeable people. I mean, out there in the cold weather, out there in the heat of the summertime, they just don't stop until they get the job done. And I appreciate that, and they do a good job. They always do a good job. In fact, they stop by and they say, hey, how does this look? This okay? Yep, absolutely, every time it is. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. Okay, so what else here before we get along to Dixie Dave? Okay, just one more reminder here. We're doing some time shifting this week. So we are recording a little bit earlier. And in fact, a couple of times throughout the show, I've heard people talk about, well, this week. Well, that is dated information at this point. I apologize for that. But just had to record a little bit early this time, so please bear with me. If something major in the outdoor world happens, if there's another new state record Chinook salmon, or if we end up all of a sudden with baiting is going to be allowed for whitetails on the Lower Peninsula, or if suddenly we're going to have a wolf hunt or something, I don't see any of those three things happening. But if it did happen and I'm not talking about it, that's why, because it hasn't happened yet. Myself, I am getting ready for bear season. I will be hunting with Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer, in the Newberry District for the third season, September 25th. Now, the third season is not a guarantee, even when you're hunting with Johnny. But I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Johnny's been sending me pictures of bear baits with bear on them and also with wolves on them. So, that's just part of hunting in the UP these days. We are doing a Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant coming up on the 18th. It's not the best date. I get that, right? Because by the time we get to the 18th, we're going to be into the hunting season. Small game's going to be open. Bear season's going to be open. Waterfowl season's going to be open. The option was to do it the week before on the 11th. And I just, in good conscience, could not bring people together and have a celebration on 9/11. It didn't seem right. So it didn't do it. The weekend before that, on the 4th, would have been, the Wednesday right after Labor Day. In hindsight, maybe that would have been a better choice. But regardless, we are going to get together on Wednesday, the 18th, at 7 o'clock for a Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant, the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. The Lumberjack is wonderful. It is beautiful, and the food is outstanding. Love to have you join us. Call for reservations, 989-343-0892. I don't like to give out phone numbers on the air. If you can't write it down, if you don't have it, listen, send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and I'll get you the number. But it's 989-343-0892. 989-343-0892. The live stream will start at 7 o'clock. I would encourage you to get your reservations for 5:30 or 6. That way you can get in there, get settled down, get your meal before we start the live stream. We will have some great guests, some good giveaway prizes. I know Rich Grazan of Killer Food Plots is going to be joining us, and some other folks I'm working on as well. But love to have you there. Amy Trotter, as you're hearing this show right now, Amy Trotter, who joined us on the show this week, she will be joining me for Wednesday Night Live coming up this Wednesday night. This is something we do every quarter. Amy is a very popular guest. People love seeing her. She's wonderful at answering your questions. She jokes around that it's a Stump the Amy segment, but honestly, I haven't seen anybody do it yet. So make sure you check that out. My website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I also do a lot of stuff on social media. I'm very active on Facebook. Also active on Instagram, do some stuff on YouTube. Twitter, X, not so much. What's the other one? TikTok? Would you want to see me doing a dance on TikTok to some funky music? I didn't think so. That's why I really don't do TikTok. I have screwed around with TikTok. I put some outdoor-related content out there, and I don't know. I'm trying, but look, I'm not a young man anymore, and I'm very set in my ways. So I can embrace social media, but I can't embrace all platforms of social media, and TikTok is one I just don't know. There's an audience there. A lot of people are very successful. I just don't know if it's for me. Dixie Dave coming up after the break. I'm just enjoying the music. It's like I've never heard that music before. Nope, I've heard that music a lot. And it seems to work. You know, it's no sense changing it at this point, right? And no sense changing who helps us wrap up each week's show either. I mean, you know who it is. It's wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Minar. Dave, an absolute master with fish and wild game. I've known the guy forever, and he never ceases to amaze me with the skill that he has in the kitchen. And he's just an all-around great guy, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. David, welcome back, buddy. How are you?
I'm very good, Michael. And yourself? I'm
doing real good, real good. I appreciate that. What do you have for us this time around?
We got a salmon and croûte. It's a puff pastry. It sounds a little more involved, but actually it's pretty straightforward. So
I remember this. I remember this as being kind of a hoity-toity dish.
Yeah, but it's actually pretty easy to do.
What page is it in the cookbook, David?
36.
36. All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so this is for 4 portions. So you need about 4 6 to 8 ounce boneless, skinless salmon fillets. You could use steelhead with this or trout. Actually, you could probably walleye too. You need 2 sheets of puff pastry cut in half, and you can get that at Myers or Kroger or any decent sized grocery store. 2 to 3 ounces of crab meat, or you could use the deveined shrimp, either one. A little bit of dill weed would go a long ways with this. A splash of white wine, lemon juice, a couple pats of butter, some white pepper, and 1 or 2 cloves of garlic diced up fine, half a medium onion diced fine, and a couple of beaten up eggs. So the eggs you're going to use you're going to beat them up real good, and you're going to paint this puff pastry with it afterwards. So you're going to lay out the half a sheet of the puff pastry, place the skin side down and the dough, and arrange either the shredded crab or the shrimp on top, a little bit of the dill, a little garlic, onion, pepper, and a pat of butter, lemon juice, and just a few drops of white wine on top of the salmon. With a pastry brush, you're going to paint the edges all around with this egg wash. You're going to take a second sheet of that puff pastry, put it over the top of it, and gently press out the air and seal the edges so the juices won't leak out. You could actually be creative and carve, look like a fish, or just leave it plain, Either way, it looks good. So you're going to take and brush the top of the pastry with the egg wash, bake it at 350 degrees until it's nice and golden brown. It could, depending on how hot your oven is, it could take up to 30 minutes. Most of the time, it's going to be probably closer to 20. So, and if you carve it to look like a fish, it would really be quite an impressive looking dish, but it's still pretty impressive any way you look at it. And we used to sell this at the restaurant, and we did this for the TV show years ago too. So it's a great dish, and it's a super easy way, not super easy, but very easy to make a real impressive dish out of salmon or steelhead or walleye or whatever kind of fish you want to use.
And it is impressive. I do remember this. It's a very impressive dish, and it looks like something that the average person wouldn't be able to do in their kitchen at the house, but you've assured me that's not the case.
Oh, yeah, no. You know what? If you're going to use only one piece of the dough, you can fold it over and then bake it so that the side that's got the folded over fish or the folded over dough is on the whatever you're going to bake it in, whether it's a frying pan or on a sizzler plate or something like that. And then it looks impressive. I'm telling you what, and it tastes just great.
I'm surprised that you could use the same recipe for both salmon and walleye, because to me, I mean, they're both great, but they're two completely different tasting types of fish.
Right. You know, and whatever, that little bit of garlic and onion and the white wine and lemon juice and a little teeny bit of dill goes a long ways with this dish. It's really flavorful.
Dave, is there anything you can do with perch other than just fry them up?
Oh, well, yes, Michael. We did a recipe. I think it had capers. We used to sell that as a special, too. And it's not in the cookbook, but we used to do the perch with capers and white wine and lemon and butter and mushrooms. And then you brown the perch off, make the sauce, and then set the perch on top of it. And we used to make that for a special, too. And that used to go
why don't we do a perch recipe next week? Because a lot of people looking at, some good perch fishing in the fall. So why don't we make a mental note and do perch next week?
Okay, sounds like a great idea, Michael.
All right, David, I appreciate that. Perfect. I know you will. I have complete confidence. Have a good week, my friend.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show. I mean, Dave and I have been friends for forever, and I enjoy having him on the show. But you know what? I couldn't do this without you. I'm serious about this. Without you listening to the show, without you listening to the podcast, without you doing business with my advertising partners, without you following me on social media, it honestly, it wouldn't work. And the fact that I'm still around and here and you are supporting me, it does work. I can't thank you enough. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and my email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Have a good week, my friends.